Greetings everyone on this Friday and the last day of this piece, and I think I got a little bit confused yesterday because I said that I might get to finish this piece today, but I didn't realize that this was going to be the fifth day of this piece, so the fifth session. So here we are, fifth thing, and we shall finish on the fifth day, fifth session. Righty ho, righty ho, righty ho. Okay, so all about contrast today, and I have also been thinking in my goings on during the day yesterday that perhaps I should be adding a little bit of heavy contrast in the form of mine. And no, I said I wouldn't, but I'm feeling the need for some compressed charcoal, so I'm going to have at it a little bit and see where this goes. I just thought to myself that I needed this piece. It was looking like it needed just that little bit of weight in terms of light and shade, and I think we shall perhaps get that through this, not black, well, because the you see now we'll get a nice blend. Yeah, so not a very heavy inky black, even though the chalk, at least the compressed charcoal, is the deepest black of all the mediums that I use. So when I blend it, it's not too bad. And you can almost just take on the form of line work and so on. I think it'll make all the difference in terms of getting this piece to pop in piece. Yeah. And if you remember I think it was during our second session, I was saying that this piece was starting to look a little bit like there was water flowing beneath. Well, it could be, because there is a certain flow to this piece, and I had spoken of that right from the outset when I was talking about using this subtle line work that came in this way, and that is there. And if you recall, and I did say it would be very subtle, which it is. But there still retains that definite sort of gradation of line, rather of angle. perspective. And that's still there. So it's a rather interesting piece, I have to say. It really is. In its various aspects and what have you. I don't say it's one of my very best pieces. However, it certainly has brought up some surprises for me in terms of how it's developed and how it's taken on this somewhat impressionistic feel to it. Which is incredibly interesting. So, yeah. So in that respect, it is a very successful piece. So I'm weighting the contrast towards this sort of almost this half, but this section of the piece. Because I want it, I see it sort of lightening up towards that towards that side and just becoming a little bit less distinct, and everything kind of dissipates. It's like reaching for the light. These little buds are certainly doing that, as all flowers do, is to reach for the light. Face towards the light source, the sun, to harness the most of its life-giving energies. What's particularly interesting is that in terms of its contrast and what have you, I have three versions of the same reference image that I've kind of been using along the way, and two of them are much like, and I had this idea before I started that we'd be leaning much towards a much lighter, softer artwork. And if you recall, I was saying that I didn't want that much vibrancy, and although this piece has not got that kind of bold, vibrant colors, it certainly has got much more contrast that excuse me, I'd knocked back in the other piece, in the other reference images. So, and it's turned out to be the right way to go. So in that respect, I'm very happy, thank you. Right, I'm going to use a little bit of, let's see, I think I'm going to use some black Conte. Yeah. And purely for line, and I want to define these little thorns here and get them to try and get as sharp a point as possible here, which isn't easy, but just to get that going. Just so that they stand out a little bit more, and of course they are this lovely, there's this lovely magenta to them that also makes them pop a little, pop a little. Yeah, I'm just hearing the toppy, the bulbul shrike, first bird of the day. I actually heard it a little earlier when I was making, organising Kit Kat's breakfast, and I could hear him it was 10 to 4. Oh my goodness. So a little bit of that. Yes, those will just have a nice, let's have some red on them as well. Just a nice, so using my Conte, my white Conte here, and sorry, I can't talk when I'm concentrating, so I need to concentrate on these little bit of detail here just to get that sorted out, and then I'll be back with you. Yeah, I just wanted to dull that red a little bit as well. There we go. It's not quite so la la la. And during that interlude, I forgot what I was about to say. Oh yes, so only because I'm not using the tool that I was talking about. So it was right. So I'm using my chalk pastel here, Conte crown here. God, I'm confusing myself because I keep on picking up a different I keep on picking up a pastel, and I say chalk pastel because I'm using it, but what I'm actually wanting to talk about is my white Conte. So I'm using that here, just in terms of some line work, because the Conte is just a little bit softer, a little bit harder in its makeup than what the pastel is. The pastel's much softer, hence its name, of course. And let's use a little bit of yellow here as well. So yeah, the Conte is very nice to use for these trailing lines that I like to employ. These and you can go softer, a little bit harder, but otherwise they leave these just very nice. So this is quite a hard crayon. But it's not waxy like a kid's crayon, for example, even though it is called a crayon. Just as much as the pastels that I use are not oil pastels. They're not that sort of, they haven't got that oiliness to them that I don't particularly enjoy either. So right from the outset, I started with charcoals, and I'm talking when I was starting off this particular nature of my work, style, etc., starting to get that going. And I was using just charcoal, and then for highlights I was using my Conte and white pastel. That was it. The colors, the introduction of color came much further down the line. And I just want to use Conte for a little bit of just this soft, at least gentle, quite kind of faint line work, etc. And then also just picking up a little bit of detail here and there as well. There we go. There we go. And then there's my pastel. And using my black Conte once more, just going around this piece with this spidery line work, and just picking up a hint of detail so that these leaves don't appear as sort of these lozenges, sort of, so they've got some character to them as well. They're not just these coloured sort of blobs. So I'm just switching back and forth between my black and white Conte at this point. You see, I'm doodling, but I'm doodling with intent, and that's why I am struggling to talk and doodle at the same time, which in itself is quite an interesting lesson for me that I must remember when I'm perhaps teaching. There always comes a time when you have to just apply a little bit of direction, focus, intention, just get things back on track. And if things tend to wander a little bit, just like I said, these leaves and what have you were looking a little bit, yes, so this line work will get this piece popping. And of course, not to mention our star characters here, not least of which, of course, I'm just using some sort of light terracotta, almost skin tone pastel here, just to get some flecks of we're just picking up on these subtle little folds of, because these little buds are just all these little petals that are just clasping together almost, just ready to unfold and open up. And it's been a few days, it's been perhaps a week since I actually captured these reference images, and these little buds are now fully in blossom, fully in bloom. That's how time goes. Just relentless, isn't it? Yes, so what I'm doing now is just using my Conte to black and white to kind of just pick up on some detail here and there. Just very faint little lines, just to just like topography, just like a topographical map where it's the lines, it's just lines coming together, stretching apart, that actually show up as almost a a three-dimensional image. And there's loads of that detail here. Stuff going on in terms of line. There's quite a lot of busyness on the go, little folds of colour here which I must pull in just here and there. Where art thou, little colour? Oh, there you are. So as I mentioned yesterday, today is all about line work. I just needed to add a little bit of a punch of contrast here and there. And just these little squiggles almost as I just to create some interest, some just little bit of discord. Here and there. And I'm just using this very pale green for that. Just for that added little interest, a hint of a leaf or something, here, a little bit more detail again. That's the colour I want. And with my pastel now, white pastel, just creating some of these little motes of light here and there, reflections of the almost waxy surfaces of the leaves, etc., from whatever source. So in stark contrast to the buds, to the rose buds, here is this stem of a, well, these long, with the wild roses, you've got those long stems that sort of spread out, almost like a creeper sometimes. And so this is one stem that's in stark contrast in terms of its feel, mood, what have you, to the rosebuds, with the thorns on them and what have you. Kind of an element of violence to the soft, gentle subtlety of the rosebuds. So almost throwing a cat in amongst the coo-cooing of the pigeons. How are we doing for time? Just under half an hour. Yeah, so what I was saying yesterday about, was it the day before? It was yesterday. About losing some of the energy if you're looking to copy, make it. Well, I called it cloning, but it's not really cloning. It's just when you try too hard to copy a reference image, you lose a lot of the energy and what have you of your artwork. It's a difficult thing to do, but I think that instead of trying to, it's like trying to be an artist. If you're still learning and you make up this grid and you try and copy exactly the shapes and what have you, don't do that. Explore your innocence as an artist, and the confidence will grow from that, because it's the trying to establish your confidence, or not having the confidence, kind of forces you to try to strive for this perfection that is almost impossible. You've got to make it your own. You've got to it's not an interpretation from your reference image straight onto the page. You have this circuit. Goes from the reference image to me as the artist, to the tools, to the paper, canvas, whatever it might be. And the interpretation for, the other day I had a great big black mark on my cheek or on my nose or somewhere, and now I've probably got a red spot as well. The interpretation and the wonder, let me rephrase this. The interpretation takes place with me. I relanguage what I'm seeing in my mind. What I'm seeing is different colors, different shapes, different light and shade, and what have you. I become more accomplished as I go in terms of how I relanguage what I am seeing, how I am reinterpreting what I'm seeing. The important part of the interpretation comes when applying to the artwork, and that's when letting go needs to take place. Let the tool, you've got the tools, and they all have, you energize the tools. It's like that Nutcracker Suite thing when Tchaikovsky, it is Tchaikovsky's, right, Robin? So the Nutcracker Suite is all these little toys in a child's bedroom that come to life after midnight or whenever the case may be, and just live their own life, do their thing, have romance and what have you. And that's the case here, except I'm present. I'm one of the role players. You've got to remember that. As the artist, you're not the one who's actually solely responsible. You've got other factors here to consider. So let go a little bit. Let go and see what transpires. See what marks are made just by allowing your doodle to flow. That is so important. I think I'm going to need to do some sessions purely on that. In fact, I've got an art workshop coming up, and where I'm going to be exploring this very concept, because it's so very important, and it would make such a difference to, be it established artists or new artists and what have you. So just that letting go. Well, intermediate artists, I think beginners and intermediate would gain the most out of this. But I also like to show the application not just to art but to life, how we live, how we are being, because how we are being determines how we interpret, etc. Even as particularly as an artist, but we interpret creatively as well. So the art and the being and all this sort of stuff kind of works together. So that's what I'm busy putting together as a workshop that is upcoming. Right, a bit of now. There's that. I think something like that would do better. There we go. And I'm just using a wee bit of lilac here, because I want this nice sense of cool shadow, but light, pale, cool shadow on these pinky surfaces. And I can also blend a little bit. I don't want to use black line. Right, and Conte. So now I'm going to be trailing all around this piece with my white Conte, and as I go I am allowing the crayon to, because it's got this squared off cross section, and I'm just rotating it in my fingers so that it sort of jiggles about a little bit. But what will start to emerge as I do this with these lines is it starts to create form. Just like that topographical map I was talking about earlier on. So it just brings out a little bit of highlight, but not in terms of a smudged highlight, but a line highlight in collective line, where the lines and the loins, where the lines join and merge, gets a little bit lighter, and then they stretch out and just subtle. What the effect that it has, I believe, is to kind of lead the eye, capture the eye, and then lead it on to the next point and to the next. So that's why I've got these little flecks of light throughout. These leaves up here, now you can see how roughly I'm working them, are right much closer to the camera, so we're kind of almost peering through, so that they're very out of focus. But still there, still relevant. But very indistinct, just like the background, but much larger and in the foreground. Hope that's working a little bit. Yes. Eraser, right, that's what I want to use. So, as I've explained time and again, my eraser is a wonderful tool for creating contrast. Sorry, a blending tool. I am kind of not locked into the dialogue at this point. So just forgive me for a second or two, and I'll be back once again. Just wanted to create these little lines that so that'll do that. Okay, and back to our eraser. So yeah, the eraser is a great tool for blending that I like to use, creating a little bit of discord and flecks and whatever direction change and all throughout, little funny squiggles and shapes and what have you. As I've mentioned on a number of occasions, it's fantastic. It comes into its own in creating grass, reeds, all of those kinds of things. It's just lovely for that. And of course, an expanse of water. It really works well there. Right, back to our Conte crayons again. Roughly 10 minutes to go, and thereabouts. Just these subtle shapes playing out here and there. Good morning. Oh, now that's the alarm that just doesn't stop. There's a school type place just up the road. That alarm, when it goes off, there's no one to switch it off again. So it just runs its course. Charming, isn't it? Nobody ever bothers to fix it. Nobody ever bothers to, you know. Of course, it never happens when anyone's there. And there are security guards, night watchmen, whatever. Nobody cares. They just I don't think that they even bother to. I think that probably the change from night duty to day duty in terms of the guards takes place before staff arrive, so nobody ever gets to actually speak about it and say, look, this is a problem or whatever. No, let's just leave it. Such is life. Such is life. I'm just adding a little bit of lilac here and there, just because I feel like it. Well, rather, the lilac said I want to play a little role further here. And I'm also going to introduce a little bit of pale blue. That needs to be more subtle. Where's my blue? Where is my blue? Goodness, it is rather intrusive, isn't it? Ah, it's run its course. It will start up again probably in about 3 minutes. Hopefully we're almost done by then. So, we have a nice, lovely, interesting light play here. These dancing little light pale colors make quite a significant difference to the whole feel and energy of this piece, which is lovely. Really enjoying how this is playing out here. There it goes again. Sorry, it wasn't. It was just a minute. My word. Okay. And with that, I think we're done. With that, we are done. Time to sign off. Yeah. 2021. There we go. There we go. Done, folks. All right. So there we have it. A little exercise in flora, depicting flora, not the person. And it's been fun. It's been a great deal of fun, actually. So yeah, quite a nice little storyline going on there. This little micro scene. Anyway, right, folks, that's it for this week and this series of my artsy lockdown. I'm not sure what I shall be doing. I won't be doing anything next week. I am going for a hernia operation and I shall be in recovery. So no big deal. It's a kind of minor surgery. So yeah, but I won't be in action very much next week. So I'll have all of that week to contemplate what I'm going to do the week after, which I really look forward to. Are we going to go back to a seascape, or what will we do? I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. Welcome to any new subscribers I've had. Good to have you aboard. And I thank you for any comments or whatever you might, criticisms even, whatever you have to say. Just feel free. I am most welcoming of any of that kind of thing. So any engagement, in other words, conversation. So yes, thank you for being around. Be good, be safe, be kind. Have a wonderful weekend ahead. Oodles and oodles of toodles. And catch you again week after next. Take care. Bye.